Change, upheaval, curveballs, they're all part of life's rich tapestry. The difficult stuff of life can make us feel disorientated. Sometimes it feels like the world is shifting uncomfortably beneath our feet. When we're faced with such things as illness, bereavement, anxiety, uncertainty, it can be hard to find our bearings, to keep our footing. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a real source of disorientation, as our lives have been abruptly and entirely disrupted. For me, it felt very much like a bereavement, a time of real grief and loss. I remember when it all began, waking up every morning with a real sense of dread. And my children were just so bitterly disappointed and so angry that they couldn't do all the things that they usually do. They took an instant dislike to WhatsApp and Zoom, and so they quickly became really isolated from their friends, and I found that a source of real anxiety. They've hated homeschooling. I was grieving about not being able to see the people I love, and I was also grieving my independence. I was struggling with the tension between being a mum and being a teacher. Tempers were running really high in our household. One day I actually went into the garden and screamed. As lockdown eases, I'm finding that this new transition is really difficult too. At least when everything was shutting down, we all knew what the rules of the game were. But now there seem to be too many question marks, too many things that we need to make our own judgments about, and we don't necessarily have the correct wisdom to do that. And I'm finding all of this really disorientating too. It can feel a bit like trying to walk in a straight line on a boat on a rough sea, when it's almost impossible to move forward or keep your balance. When we find ourselves on stormy seas, we're likely to feel seasick. The best antidote to seasickness is to keep your eyes on a fixed point. This is where my Christian faith makes a difference. I believe in a God who is a fixed point whilst everything else moves and shifts. A God who is unchanging. A God who is the same yesterday, today and tomorrow. A God who so longs to be with us that he sent his son Jesus to live alongside us. And Jesus was fully human, which means he gets it. He gets us. He too experienced grief and loss and disappointment and uncertainty. He knows how they feel. He knows how disorientating the world can be. Just before Jesus left his disciples to return to his Father in heaven, he spoke into the disorientation he knew that they would feel. He told them, "Surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." This is as true for those who follow Jesus today as it was for those disciples. Uncertainty and disorientation are a fact of life. So many things lie outside our control. But Jesus promises that he is with us always. I can honestly say that it's been in my very darkest of times that I have felt Jesus' presence with me most strongly. As I lay in the MRI scanner to find out how far my cancer had spread, I could feel that Jesus was laying there beside me. And as I sat by the hospice bedside of the woman I love most in the world as her life came to an end, I knew that Jesus was sitting there with me. In fact, one day I actually felt as if a warm blanket had been placed around my shoulders, comforting me in the most extraordinary way, bringing a peace that was entirely at odds with what was actually happening. I've learned that during the storms of life, fixing my eyes on Jesus, orientating myself towards him, makes all the difference. Jesus is able to ease my disorientation and bring me peace, the peace which the Bible describes as passing all understanding. This doesn't mean that the boat always stops rocking. It doesn't mean that the waves become less choppy. But as I bring my disorientation before Jesus, who has been there and done it, who understands, and who died so that I might have a secure future, I definitely feel less seasick. In Jesus, I have a hope that is bigger than myself, and He is the constant, solid, unwavering backdrop before which all the drama of life unfolds. In an ever-changing world, He is unchangeable.